Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. Chris here from Finland Mennonite Church, back for another session of Midweek Musings. Now today I brought along one of these, a digital thermometer. Perhaps you've been seeing these more regularly, perhaps you've been using them more regularly recently. But what does a digital thermometer do, or a thermometer in general do? Yeah, it tells us our temperature. 98.2, not bad. And so we know a lot of institutions have been utilizing more of these in recent months and recent weeks with policies and procedures due to COVID. And I'm not here to talk about whether we agree with this or not, but it had me thinking as I thought about the fact that people are taking their temperatures more regularly. It had me musing. What if we regularly took our spiritual temperatures? Like, what if we took time right now and reflected on ourselves, maybe today and the past couple of days, of how we're doing? Now, I don't have a fancy spiritual digital gauge that I can recommend to you on Amazon or anything like that, but I have something far more superior to recommend. It's the Word of God. And specifically, this past week, we were in the book of Philippians, where Paul actually gives us a list of things, not an exhaustive list, 3 things in particular, but it's enough to give us a good gauge on how we're doing spiritually, to give ourselves a spiritual temp check. He told us what to look for, right? He said, well, first, are you stirring division or are you bringing reconciliation? So look at your actions. Are they bringing or stirring division or bringing reconciliation? He's saying, now look at your responses. Are you responding in harshness or are you responding in gentleness, in reasonableness? And then what are you filled with? Well, are you filled with worry or are you filled with peace? Right? He gives these 3 markers for us to look at. Now, perhaps in light of some recent announcements, some travel restrictions, some increased mitigation, some new rules to follow, maybe your peace isn't what it was before a couple days ago. Perhaps our opinions on these decisions has created more division than it has reconciliation among friends or family or neighbors or acquaintances. Or maybe like me, you saw in your own response more harshness and unreasonableness than you really hoped for or would have expected in those moments, especially to the ones who've made some of these decisions. Now, here's the thing. Paul, the author of Philippians, he knows all about government authority. I mean, in fact, he wrote this book of Philippians from inside a prison cell. And he was there because he was proclaiming a kingdom, because he was telling others about Jesus. That's what he was in jail for, right? And so maybe we could even suggest or say that he was in there unjustly. It doesn't matter to him. He still writes these words, right? He's in prison without cause, really without a good cause, and yet he still writes these words. Work to bring reconciliation. Respond with gentleness and reasonableness. Now, this doesn't mean that we're going to agree on everything. It doesn't mean hold your beliefs kind of willy-nilly. It doesn't mean don't be strong in your beliefs. It doesn't mean any of those things, because we know Paul was strong in his beliefs. We know he held them fiercely. What is he saying, though? He's saying even when you share these, even when you come into dialogues with people who maybe don't even agree with you, after you walk away from that person might not agree with you, but they should be able to say, wow, that person was gentle. That person was reasonable. I understand kind of why they believe what they believe. I might not agree with it, right? That's the thing. Don't hold less convictions. Just be gentle, full of grace and truth in how we're sharing and declaring these convictions that we do hold. And then the last thing he says is be filled with peace, right? Be filled with peace. So based on these things, how's your temp check? What did it reveal for you? Did it tell you your temperature is right on? Your spiritual temperature is exactly where it needs to be? Or did it say it's off a little bit? Say, well, there's something that's not quite right here. You're a little high or a little low. Maybe you're way high, maybe you're way low. And then, what do you got to do to get it back to where it belongs? Right? With a physical fever, we know there's certain things we can do. We can take medicine. We can get rest. We can eat, many of us maybe eat soup or have a certain drink that we would want to drink, concoction that we would make of some natural remedies and herbs that we would put in and help us feel better. So what is it when we know that we're off spiritually? Well, here's the midweek reminder. of what we learned from the scriptures of Philippians that we were in chapter 4. The Lord is at hand. So when we do these spiritual temp checks, when we find that we're off a little, we're not alone. We're not left to ourselves. We have the presence of the Almighty here with us that we can turn to, that we can approach, that we can ask for help. And you know what Paul says a little bit later in Philippians? He says, and my God has everything he needs to supply you for every need you have. So friends, let's spend today doing these temp checks. And when we get our responses, let's not cower in shame or respond in guilt, but to turn to the Lord who's at hand and get the help we need to get our temperatures back where they belong so that we can continue making the places we live, work, and play look more like heaven. Thanks for joining. Be at peace.